Research is central to what business and industry are trying to do. The ideas that are discovered by companies themselves or by researchers working in universities and other institutions of higher education are what drive new products, new processes, new ideas that can be then taken out and commercialised in the marketplace. Research is absolutely central to the whole process of economic growth, which is driven by hundreds and millions of companies around the world.
Research is important to the economic recovery of the UK because it helps us grow, and whilst there's a lot of emphasis at the moment about cutting the deficit, the thing to remember is what we need to get under control is the ratio of the deficit to GDP. So if we could have some more GDP, that's going to help us in this objective. Getting some more GDP is obviously a difficult thing to do, but understanding the extent to which university research helps grow GDP is going to get us a long way to solving this big economic problem at the moment. We did a statistical analysis to attempt to find out what the effect of publicly funded research was on GDP, and we were actually rather surprised that it was such a large effect.
Historically, the UK has spent a smaller proportion of our national income on research than comparable countries, Germany, France, Japan, the United States. Even so, we have been enormously productive. In terms of scientific output, the UK is second only to the US. And we're ahead of the US in terms of the efficiency with which we produce that. The amount of citations, the amount of patents, the amount of commercial applications that come out of research as a proportion of our total spend. Spending on research has increased over recent years, and this is clearly having a positive impact. Now, it seems to me, is not the time to start cutting it back, particularly as all these other countries I mentioned are increasing their spending. The US looking to double their spending over the next 10 years, for example. All these other countries see the value of research for the long-term payoff for society.
The crucial feature of Research Council UK research is that it's competitive. The other way to do it would be, as some government departments do, which is just to give it out to preferred contractors. So the Ministry of Defence does this, a lot of civil research is done in this way as well. And we find in the study that we looked at that those types of research are much less effective in boosting GDP than the kind of competitively determined research. And it's the element of competition which means that the money gets to the people who can do it best, which is crucial to giving some public benefit to all of this.
Why do firms come to universities? Well, firms come to universities for many different reasons. When we do studies when we ask firms why they come to universities, the most important thing for them is to get access to skilled and trained problem solvers and to get new ideas, right? So coming to a university is a great source of inspiration to many different UK businesses. So you can think of some firms who come to universities in order to explore an area. They want to learn about a new technological area. They want to build a community around a technological area. They need to fill up their staff profile with skilled, trained problem solvers. So they build these long-term relationships with universities and academic departments, and sometimes with just individual academics. So for example, Lang O'Rourke, which is a large UK construction firm, this week announced it was going to invest £1 million a year in the next 5 years, co-developing a master's degree with Imperial College on innovation and systems engineering. So this is a long-term investment, right? They're giving money to the university to help build a new course program, and they're going to put their own people on this course, and they're going to hire people from this course, right? And they're going to shape the research trajectory in this area. So the goal here is for them is to really build something with Imperial College, right? So it's a long term, it's not something they're going to get a benefit from today or tomorrow, maybe not even this year, but in 5 years and 7 years, they're going to have a team of people who've been trained in this master's program. It's going to be a whole rich research portfolio in this area that they're going to be able to draw upon.
There are a number of multinational companies around the world that see the value of locating their research and development facilities in the UK so they can benefit from interactions with what's going on in our universities. An example would be Sharp Electronics, the Japanese company. They have decided to invest a very substantial proportion, I think it's a quarter of their global spending on research and development in the UK, miles and miles away from home base, because they see the value of learning and interacting with researchers working in their electronic area.
I think all the evidence shows that in fact we are regarded as being one of the places to invest. We are second to America in terms of inward investment, and the reason for that is that companies see that we have both the skilled people, we have the expertise, we have the infrastructure, and we have a willingness to work with companies and with industry.
I'm a Canadian by background, and now I work in the UK. One of the attractions of the UK for someone like me is the resources for doing my research are quite good here, right? So, academics are a mobile group. There's a labor market for their skills. And so the wealth of resources that were on the table here in the UK was a great attractor for academic talent from around the world, and very good at retaining the talent that's trained here. So I did my PhD here in the UK, and then I stayed on to work here as well. And that's true for companies as well. So the investment we made in science in this country over the last decade has been very important in attracting large international firms to come work in the UK. I know of many firms who've told me the reason they're attracted to the UK is because of the quality of science. So you see, Microsoft and Nokia building research labs in Cambridge. HP has a whole center for open innovation based here in the UK. They love British universities, right? Procter & Gamble signed agreements with Imperial College and the EPSRC to co-fund research. These are all things that are signals of the strength of British science.
So an interesting question is, how long does research take to have an economic impact? We find the economic impact is actually comes quite quickly. 1, 2, 3 years, you can see an economic impact of it in the data that we look at. Now, this is quite a difficult argument because other people have argued that actually it takes much longer than that. Some very fundamental research would take both a longer time to execute and a longer time to disseminate into the economy. But of course, if that is the case, then the effects that we found are an underestimate of the effects, because these even greater effects are yet to come down the track.
Let's look at the particular issue of spending by the public sector on research and development, primarily in universities. Does that crowd out private spending on research and development? All the evidence suggests that it does not crowd out. In fact, it crowds in. So the more we spend on public sector R&D, the more the private sector will do. And not only that, the research and development the private sector does becomes more productive. It produces more ideas, it produces more patents, it produces more revenues eventually when they come up with commercial applications.
If you look at what has driven developments in society in the 19th and the 20th, and I believe the 21st century, it is that enormously strong, innovative research base. The UK has led for 2 centuries. It has people who have the abilities to make sure that we lead into the next century, and we've got to make sure that we do that.